So yeah, I guess you think that I don't make any mistakes. I make lots of mistakes, and I still make them. And I'm teaching you guys not to make these mistakes, and then I end up making them myself. So, go figure. Anyways, let me just explain to you the whole of what happened here and why I'm calling this video Mistakes I Made During Due Diligence. So as you know, I invest in tax sale foreclosures. I bought a whole bunch of tax sale foreclosures last year, actually more than I usually do. And I've bought them over the years on and off, but this last year I actually really put some force behind it, and I bought a bunch. So now redemption periods have passed. Some of them have redeemed. Most of the ones that I bought have not redeemed. So I borrowed redemption rights, and now I'm in the process of trying to figure out what to do with them. Do I quiet the title and try to sell them open market, or do I just kind of try to sell them without the quiet title? What do I do? And if you've seen me make other videos, I bought 2 duplexes. There were actually 2 buildings next to each other. Each one has 2 units, so altogether there was 4. And there was a really good duplex, and there's the really bad one. The really bad one had an addition in the back that was the second bedroom, I guess. They were both, each side was 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. And it had, I guess there was a tree or whatever fell on that duplex, on that addition. So you cannot use, it's not livable. You basically have to tear down the whole entire addition and start that addition over. And of course, all the other remodeling has to be done for the rest of the duplex. And I'm trying to figure out what to do with it. There was 2 of them. One of them was good, kind of decent, that I want to keep, maybe. Haven't decided yet. But the other one that has the addition that fell apart, is falling apart right now, that's not a good one, and I want to get rid of it. So here's the mistake that I made, and I'm going to tell you what it is. Try not to do this. I do teach in my ebooks the 6 steps of due diligence. One of the steps is to do property record search. So in this case, I did do property record search. I did all the 6 steps. I did the property record search. I did the comps, basically. I checked all the information that I had online, Zillow, Trulia, talked to neighbors, even went to the property and looked at it before I bought it. Although I'm not sure yeah, I did on this one as well. And I did all the steps. I did everything correctly. But I failed to remember that in the city where I live, that there is something, what's called a property maintenance department. And the property maintenance department, and if you've listened to any of my radio shows, I've actually had the director of the property maintenance department on my radio show. And he is there's a big umbrella organization that's called Code Compliance, but the property maintenance department is like a subset that has been absorbed by the Code Compliance department. So Code Compliance could be anything like alcohol licenses, selling alcohol downtown or in the city, within the city limits. It could be food truck license stuff. It could be building permits for trying to build things that are outside the norm for the historic district, and just a number of other things. And if you listen to the radio show on that, just search my YouTube channel and search for Kevin Milton or Code Compliance, and you'll see that radio show there. So basically, we have and I knew this too. I went to both duplexes. One of them had they were both boarded up. The one that was the good one that was boarded up was actually boarded up with regular plywood boards. So one of the duplexes was boarded up, do-it-yourself boarded up basically, and the other side, however, was professionally boarded up. I mean, it was boarded up with plexiglass boards that were, I mean, they were just bolted with these really thick bolts into all the way around each window, all around each door, and there were several locks. I mean, this place was like foolproof. The whole place is going to flow away, but the boards, the plexiglass is still going to be there. That's how bad it was boarded up. I mean, it was really solid. There was no way for us to get in there. When I came there with my contractor, we were going to break in, he even said to me, he's like, look, Julia, with regular tools, I can't do this. I have to bring like special equipment. And what we ended up doing is he actually broke the lockbox. And the lockbox then contained the keys for all the locks. There were 6 locks. Each side had 3 locks. So he broke the deadbolt, the lockbox, and we got the key. And thank goodness it matched all 6 locks. Otherwise, we would have to break 6 more locks to just get in. And then we would have to figure out how to lock it back up again because it would have been open at that time. So anyway, one duplex was do-it-yourself boarded up. The other duplex was a plexiglass mega structure, safe from nuclear war boarded up, basically. And I got to thinking, I was like, if it's the same owner, and it was the same owner, I knew that from the foreclosure because I knew who they were foreclosing on when I bought them. If it's the same owner, why would he not just, he or she, I didn't even know, I think it was a business, why wouldn't they just board both of them up the same way if they're the same owner? It just didn't make sense to me. Why would one be professionally boarded up while the other one was do-it-yourself? So that was kind of my first clue, but I didn't even think about that during the auction. I was just like, oh, cool, it's a good deal, let's get it, you know? So anyways, the side that was boarded up do-it-yourself was assessed by the tax assessor at about $70,000 or $80,000. The side that was professionally boarded up was actually assessed at $40,000, so much less. Again, you know, you're trying to figure out why would they board up the cheaper property in such a professional way, and the more expensive one is just do it yourself. Anybody can just break off a piece of plywood there and just walk in. So, good question. Why? Well, I found out why. What I do is, and I'm going to show this to you actually, and I should have done this before, but I don't do this always before, so that's my bad, because, you know, I have an explanation. I'm a single mom. I don't have time to research 200 properties for any one tax, so I don't even have time to research 50, so I do my best guess and kind of wag it. And hopefully sometimes I get good properties and sometimes I get crap properties. But it's, you know, the law of averages, eventually something good will fall out. So I already knew that in my city there was something like a code compliance property maintenance department, whatever it's called, doesn't matter. It's the guys that come out and fix your property and cut the grass if you don't do it, and then charge you an assessment. In some cities and some counties, what happens is that the city or county attorney basically says, all right, we have all these receivables for all this money that we spend on these contractors boarding up houses or cleaning up the yards. You know, now we're going to collect on this stuff. Let's either sell these liens, these assessment liens, we can sell them at auction, or we can just sell them to investors that walk in. So cities and counties kind of handle these things different ways. I know investors out west, what they do is they seek out the areas where the cities and counties actually just assign those liens to an investor over the counter. So you can basically walk in and say, hey, I know that this property has an assessment lien of $1,000, $2,000, whatever. Let me just pay that real quick and take that over for you. So the city or the county assigns that lien assessment to that investor, and the investor then goes around, hires an attorney, and forecloses on the property, or tries to anyways. And if the owner at that point doesn't pay them back for this lien, this assessment lien, then they basically lose the property. So sometimes it's handled that way. I know for a fact that here in the city where I live, city of Savannah, it's not done that way. They don't assign assessment liens to investors. The way it was explained to me by the attorney, by the officials, is they don't do anything over the counter, because the state of Georgia doesn't do anything over the counter, which, by the way, is also wrong, because there's some areas in Georgia that do, apparently. From some of you guys, I actually learned that from some of you guys, subscribers. But here in the city of Savannah, they don't do that because they don't want to look like they're just giving people's properties away. And they're not even doing that, but it's all kind of like an appearance thing. I guess something happened at one point where some elderly person may have lost their property because of that process, and they kind of sued and didn't get the due process of actually going through an auction with a 4-week advertising period for them to be able to know that their property was actually being foreclosed on. So somebody raised some red flags on that, and they stopped doing that. So you can't buy any special assessment liens over the counter in the city of Savannah. However, and this is really even the weirdest thing, because when I look at property records and I do title search, you can't even find these liens. These liens are not recorded at the courthouse. Just because the Code Compliance Department and the Property Maintenance Department has an account on your property, which by the way goes against the property itself, not the owner, just because they have an account there with a balance, that doesn't mean that any of those code compliance or property maintenance officials actually will take that account and walk it over to the courthouse and record it there. And they basically say, hey, look, these people owe us $2,000 for boarding up this house or for cutting the grass. I want to record this lien at the courthouse as a legitimate lien. So if it's not recorded at the courthouse, then no attorney can find it through a title search, especially if they're not local. And so I've had one closing one time where an attorney was not local and they never found it because they did a title search, they didn't find it, and it was basically, didn't know anything about it. And then a second time, an attorney was very diligent, and he's a local attorney, and he knew exactly who to call, and he found out that there was outstanding balance against the property, which he said, if you want to close on that, Julia, you want to sell that property, you're going to have to pay that. So, yeah, I ended up paying for that. However, I was able to negotiate with the Code Compliance Department and the Property Maintenance Department, which in my case is the same department. It might not be where you live, but I was able to negotiate with them to take off at least the administrative fees, and they still wanted to charge me, obviously, the contractor fees because that's their expense to pay somebody, but they were able to remove the administrative fees, which was about half at that point. It wasn't that much. It was maybe I think the total was like $600 to cut the grass. I think it was twice, and $175 for whatever that was, or $150 was to cut the grass, and $150 was the admin fee, and they had to charge me twice. So there was $300 contractor fees, $300 admin fees. So they took off the admin fees as long as I paid the contractor fees. Like they wouldn't do it before. They like basically said, well, come in and pay us $300. We'll take off the other $300. So that's kind of how they handled that. And it's kind of interesting because a couple of my mentor investors that I've been working with for a long time have taught me this a long time ago, and I'm kind of following and learning, and I'm like, that just never happened to me. So anyways, let's get to this mistake that I made because I still haven't gotten to it. So I buy 2 duplexes. One is boarded up do-it-yourself style. The other one is boarded up professionally by like some nuclear bomb specialist or something. I mean, it's boarded up for real. And then I get an invoice. And the invoice was actually not for the total balance on each one of those duplexes. It was just for cutting the grass. Because apparently during the redemption period, while I did not have access to any of those properties, either one of them, they had to come out and cut the grass because a neighbor complained. And it was basically an admin charge, actually in this case $165, and the other one was a weed cutting lot clearing charge of $230. So actually in this case it was $395 in total. And what happened is that I called the lady that's handling this, and a lot of times in the cities and counties there's just one person that specifically deals with the weed account or specifically with boarding or some other code compliance issue. But anyway, it's always the same lady for the weed cutting. So I called her up and I said, hey, you know, there's $395 due, and can't we get this administrative charge removed because I didn't have access rights to this property? Is there any way for you to take that off? And she was able to talk to the director, which by the way I had him on my radio show. This is another good tip, by the way. If you want anything done for government officials, get yourself a radio show and bring the officials to your radio show, and then you can face-to-face actually discuss with the people that actually make these decisions to get some of these charges removed. But you definitely need to figure out some way to connect with the people that can make the decisions. hopefully in a good way. We had a lot of fun on this radio show, by the way, so I thought it was a really great show, so maybe I was able to get some of these charges removed because I had a good rapport with this person, this director. Anyway, so I thought, okay, they're removing $165, total is $395, so I'm only owing $230. So I call her up and I was like, hey, I only owe $230, right? And she's like, nope, you owe $640 because this invoice right here is just for one time, and there was 2 times. So you actually owe for 2. So I got her to eventually remove the admin charge on both times, which is $165 times 2. So I don't know if you can see that, I kind of wrote it. So the total was $970. She removed the $330 admin fee, so I owe $640 on this one. This is a do-it-yourself boarded up duplex that I bought. And by the way, I paid $3,000 for that duplex. I think I made a video about that, maybe not. Actually, there's a video out there on YouTube where you can see what it looks like inside. And I'm almost at 17 minutes, so sorry I'm blabbering on. Alright, so where's my other paper? So I get this one. They look the same, but they're not. Anyways, this one is the duplex that is right next to the other one. This is the one that's been boarded up like nuclear war style. And I'm going to just call it that way because I don't know, the address won't make any difference to you. So this bill right here, same thing, has an administrative charge and a weed charge. Admin fee $165 like the other one. Weed cutting charge $230, and they also charged me $180 for excess trash debris removal. So this one is actually $575 instead of $395 the other one. I was like, okay, that's not too bad, you know. This duplex I paid $2,000 for, that one $3,000. So you know, it's part of doing business, you gotta pay this. So I call her up and I ask her, can I get this $165 removed? And she's like, yeah, you can on this invoice, but did you know that there's another invoice? And I'm like, it's not on here, and the total isn't stated here, so what do I actually owe on this one? She's like, oh yeah, well, you know, the city had to come and actually board it up because it was wide open for anybody, and they didn't want any squatters or people in there that would, homeless people actually take residence in there. So the city came and boarded it up because the owner wouldn't come forth to do it. And I'm like, well, how much is owed on this one? So I've already put the dots together when I asked this, and sure enough, the total amount that they charged to board up the place was $8,960. It was $8,400 some dollars. $8,400 to board up a place. I don't even pay that much for tax sale foreclosures. In fact, this duplex right here I paid $2,000 for, and they charged me $8,500 to board it up. So my heart just sank because I'm like, got screwed on this one, right? So don't do that mistake. Anyways, I got her to remove all admin fees on all invoices. There was 2 of them. There was the boarding one and this one. A total of $960 of admin fees they were able to remove, which brought me to my balance of $7,574.30 that I owe on this property. And this is a tax sale foreclosure I only paid $2,000 for. So 4 times as much in code compliance fees are with the city of Savannah with this property here. And that's just ridiculous, honestly. But you know what? Honestly, when I look at the house and see how it's boarded up, I can see how it's that expensive. Somebody from the city basically said, yeah, whatever, we'll just pay a contractor, whatever. Board it up as good as you can. So they did like the top of the top line of boarding it up. I was thinking that eventually somebody's going to pay for it. Let's just send the city the bill. And the city's like, we're just going to send it to the owner once we sell it at the tax sale. I'm the owner. So I'm liable now to pay $7,500 I didn't account for. So normally that would just pretty much freak me out, and I would go into a sad fit and cry. At least that's how I used to be when I started investing. But you kind of grow a thick skin. And I should have known this. This is my mistake. I should have known this. I should have thought of this. I should have called there before I bid on this property. This is a property I didn't need to buy. Alright, so how do we fix this? Because for every problem, there's always a solution, right? And sorry this video is so long, I gotta finish this. This property right now is appraised at about $40,000 right now with the county tax assessor. I have no idea how much it's actually worth, with the addition being all torn apart in the back. I need to sell it. That's basically it. The city is not asking me to pay the $7,500 right now. I'm sure that, in fact, they have some sort of thing going on where they're not even sure what to do with all these special assessment tax dues that are sitting on their books. So I'm thinking that I actually have a little bit of time to figure this out. But I do need to do something with this property, because even though this account is sitting there, also taxes are being accumulated. I'm working on a quiet title for this property, so it's actually going to cost me more money for the attorney. So we're like a lot of money in right now, so we got to recoup some of that. So the best thing to do that I'm thinking right now is to get either a realtor to give me a good sales value for this property, or else try to just get an appraiser to come out there and do an appraisal for me to figure out how much this property is actually worth. Now, I am assuming it's going to be worth more than what I put in, which in the end will be the $7,500 plus what I paid for it, which was $2,000, plus the borrowing of redemption rights, which was $1,000, and plus the quiet title action that I'm working on right now, which could be anywhere from 3 to 4. So add all of that together. What do we have there? 9, 10, maybe like 10 to 14 or something. So I gotta sell this property for at least that much. And the longer I wait, the less profit I'm gonna have. So I need to offset this one very, very quickly. I thought I could list it for $29,900. That's a big reduction to what the tax assessor says it's worth. Now I'm thinking I'll probably have to reduce the price. But again, the next step, of course, is to get a good price from a realtor or from a appraiser who knows what they're talking about. So even though this is like usually a heartbreak, it's just another thing to deal with, and it's just part of doing business. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Altogether, both of these duplexes together, I paid $5,000 for them. I put a couple $1,000s into them for attorney costs and fees, and in the end, when I sell them both, it's still going to be very profitable. So I'm not really complaining. I'm just doing what I have to do, run my business from 8 to 5, I guess. Sometimes longer, sometimes not so long, but it's part of doing business. You run into problems and you make mistakes. It's a mistake, obviously. I should have known this. I didn't expect it to be this high, and I should have guessed it. What I want you to walk away with for this video is that just because you can't find the lien at the courthouse, the county courthouse, just know also that there is a seniority of liens, and quite honestly, if the city actually decided to take the $7,500 weed lien and record it at the courthouse, and they'll try to foreclose on me for this, I could always try to get my attorney basically to argue that a tax lien is superior and senior to a weed lien. But we're dealing with two government offices. You can't really say that one government office's lien is less worth than another government office's lien. You can do that with mortgages, obviously. And in my ebooks, I do explain the seniority of liens. That's why in most states a mortgage lien is always junior to a tax lien, while as any other government lien like an IRS lien or a weed lien are kind of on the same level. So you just really need to be careful. Really do your diligence. Just because it's not recorded at the courthouse doesn't mean that there's not another lien on that property. And the first place to look would be the property maintenance department or the code compliance department in your city or county. And it could be named something even different, but something that deals with cutting grass for properties that have been vacant for a long time and there have been a nuisance. So that's my tip to you. Don't make a $7,500 mistake like I did. Trying to share my knowledge. Anyways, before I let you go, make sure you subscribe. At the bottom there's my website. You get a newsletter. Check out my ebooks too, and I hope to see you investing very successfully very soon. And by the way, if you do subscribe at my website, you will get sent a free guide to real estate investing. So don't miss that. Have a great day, and don't make that mistake.
For your free guide to real estate investing, visit juliamspencer.com.